You guys got your Miller High Lifes ready?
Yeah.
That's what I was
My
packing last
natural
week.
light.
One of those, huge glass bottles. This time I got me some Twisted Tea. What you got going on, Jake?
I have some Jim Beam and ginger ale because I'm cheap.
Yeah. What about you?
I have water
Pat?
because I'm hungover.
All right. What about you, Tosh?
Pepsi.
Ice cold Pepsi.
Yes.
All right.
No Dr. P
So,
this week? Or this
I
month?
have it. It's just not in the refrigerator, so this is cold.
Oh, okay.
So, for everybody that's listening, Pat is our guest this month. Pat, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for the viewers? Because in the first episode, we all said, what we do and how we got into horror. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
My name is Patrick. I'm from West Virginia. Right now, I live right outside D.C. in Northern Virginia. I do video production, and I work for the Department of Defense as a contractor for video production.
Cool. So, we got ourselves somebody that knows a little something about video in here.
Oh yeah.
Should be interesting.
I also got into horror because I don't know. I think
I think I know the answer to this question. But what is your favorite horror intellectual property? Go.
movie, book, anything.
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, it's all. No matter what I say, it's gonna fall into the Stephen King universe. But
Yeah.
It's good.
oh man, I definitely fell in love with horror through being exposed to it at a super early age when I should not.
I
have
thought
been.
you were gonna say it.
Yeah.
I thought you were just gonna say it right off the bat. I didn't think it was gonna be a.
Well, I've
debate,
just been in
because I've heard a lot
Stephen
about
King's
it.
bigger than he's ever been right now.
Yeah.
Because of all the adaptations and stuff. So I think I've read some stuff that I like better than it when it comes to Stephen King, but that's definitely where all of the horror genre interests stem from.
Cool. All right. Well, we got 4 beautiful movies for you guys this week. We have The Thing. We have Monster Squad. We have A Cure for Wellness, and we have.
Urban Legend.
Urban
Every
Legends.
time.
He always forgets
one.
at least one.
It's too much pressure, guys. All right. All the comments gonna be calling me an idiot.
Those
so
are
yeah,
just
I
for
mean,
me.
So, Pat, have you seen all 4 of them already?
I have seen all 4 of them. I remember,
Great.
I think
You came prepared.
Monster Squad. I remember watching that when I was really young, and my brother showed me that. And I watched it again actually 2 years ago, because when he wrote his book, one of the books he wrote was kind of I think it's Monster Squad inspired it, just kind of like a group of kids, kind of teaming together to battle some wild monster. So I think, because I had reread his book recently too, so I was like, I really want to watch this movie again, and I love it.
All right. Well, let's go into my Monster Squad first then, since it seems like the conversation's going that way.
Yeah.
So, who recommended Monster Squad?
It was technically Josh's, but it was Jake's double bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked for Josh since he's kind of MIA, but I picked this one because I really like the classic monster characters. I've seen some of the classic monster movies. They're really hit or miss. A lot of them don't really hold up, and it's kind of hard to get through. So I wanted something different in that monster universe, but with a more kind of fun modern take on it, and that's why I picked this movie.
Cool. So, do you want to do the summary then?
Yeah. So basically, there's this group of kids called the Monster Squad, and they love all the classic monsters and horror and everything. And then, well, I guess the movie starts with with Van Helsing. He's trying to kill Dracula, and I guess every century there's one day where the good and the evil in the universe are balanced, and you have to read this passage from a book and hold an amulet. So Van Helsing tries to banish Dracula, he fails, and then 100 years later, Dracula comes back, and somehow these kids come in possession of the diary that has the passage that has to be read. So Dracula basically enlists all the classic monsters to go kill the kids and get the diary so he can take the amulet and basically become evil master of the world. And there's a lot of classic monster fun, and then they kill Dracula and everybody else at the end, and they live happily ever after.
He's sucked into a black hole.
Yeah.
And Van Helsing gives a very cheesy thumbs up, which, like,
Yeah.
I don't know when thumbs up became, like, a thing, but I feel like Van Helsing wouldn't know what it is.
Helsing's like, what? Yeah. Yeah, so I liked this movie because I felt like that it had like this really lighthearted tone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel, Tasha?
I really liked it. I was kind of sad that they put Frankenstein.
Oh yeah, Tasha did not want them to do that in the end. She wanted Frankenstein to make it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how he would have made it, but yeah, that was really sad.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Molly loved this movie. She did.
Yeah, for
That's
some
awesome.
reason this one in particular. I think it's so funny when like the anti-bully kid shows up and he lights a match with his shoe. like he's like, eh. It just reminds me of like random stuff that you see at like tailgates, you know?
Well, it was he was the older kid. I think his name was Rudy. He was like an anachronism or whatever, because he was like this 50s greaser kid in the middle of like all the other 80s pop culture. So that was just weird, but I enjoyed it.
Maybe that was the nostalgia in the 80s. You know, you didn't have the 80s nostalgia yet, so you had the
Which
50s.
I think that is true, because like Back to the Future, it was like all about 50s nostalgia. So I think that was like the nostalgia of the 80s.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, who's the hipster kid? You know?
I really like the makeup and costumes, except for Werewolf. I thought his was kind of bad.
Yeah, I agree. I thought him and the creature from the Black Lagoon was okay, but
Yeah.
I've seen better in person at Horror Nights.
yeah, but I think they were kind of strapped because they wanted to use the classic monsters, but they couldn't get the rights to the Bela Lugosi Dracula or like the classic Frankenstein. So it was, I think they had to redesign it by a certain degree. So it's like they did well. It's just not what I was expecting it to look like, which is probably more on me than the movie.
But then again, it was another just fun movie, so maybe they did it on purpose too.
Yeah, true.
Because you got killer clowns, because they don't look like super awesome, but it was pretty fun looking.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Did anybody else think that the floating like vampire effect looked really bad though?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that always plays into so many 80s horror movies where it's like part of like the raw horror is like also combined with like, you know, the giggling at like the 80s like sound effects partnered with like horrible special effects.
Yeah, that part of it didn't age as well as some of the other '80s movies that I've seen, but some of the costumes still look pretty legit though. You know, decent practical effects. And this month's theme was like a lot of the movies had good practical effects.
yeah.
Yeah.
Except for A Cure for Wellness, but we'll get into that one.
But that had some good effects in general.
Yeah.
But
Go on.
But yeah, some of the effects were cheesy, but I feel like part of it might have been somewhat intentional, because I think towards the beginning when they're showing like Dracula's crypt, and there's these bats flying in the background, and they're obviously just like rubber bats on a string that somebody's pulling up and down, which I felt was a reference to like in the original Dracula movie, that's what the bats were, and it was very similar effect. So I'm like, I wonder if that was intentionally referencing that, but it did look kind of funny.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I'll check my notes too. You know, without even looking at them though, one of the things that stands out about this movie for some reason to me, just randomly, is that the fat kid was really, really excited to eat that pie.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah,
Why
that
does there always
the-
have to be a fat kid in the group in like 80s horror movies?
Yeah.
At least he wasn't leaking hamburger helper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like
Or Chunk from the Goonies. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking of
like
too.
they could film their own like chunky squad and have their own series.
That would be funny. That would be a great crossover.
Yeah. The only other note I had was she gave him the Frankenstein teddy bear, and Molly was trying to give him E.T. So that's all.
Oh.
Oh. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
overall it wasn't a great like film. There was a lot of plot holes and stuff. Like how was Van Helsing's diary randomly, like, I think they said they got it at a garage sale down the street or something, but
But how did it end up at the garage?
Right.
Like, yeah.
but I guess
Yeah.
stranger things have happened. But
True.
but I
Big true.
it was a clear love letter to the classic monsters from somebody that I guess the director had grown, or the writer had grown up with them. So
Yeah.
like I mentioned the reference to the Dracula crypt scene, there was also when Frankenstein first comes to the little girl and she's sitting by the pond. That's like a direct shot for shot from the original Frankenstein, except in that he like kills the girl. So that's kind of like what you're thinking is going to happen, but then you realize Frankenstein's actually a good guy in this one. So I thought they used the like legacy of the characters pretty well and had a lot of
Yeah.
fun with it.
Yeah. I thought this was a pretty good too, like little kid like dynamic of just having like a group where everybody's sort of passionate about something. Like it's the Monster Squad, we're the Monster Squad. You know, it was very it reminded me a lot of like my own childhood, where like, you know, I'd hang out with a small group of friends and we had this like fort in the woods and stuff like that, and it gave me those sort of like nostalgia bait type of feelings, and I was like, oh yeah, this is... I think that's why I'm probably gonna end up like boosting the rating for this one a little bit, just because I felt like when I was watching it, like the whole thing is just a little endearing to me. I was just like,
Yeah.
this is so cool. You know, I wasn't into horror when I was a kid. I didn't get into it until I met Tasha 12 years ago. But you know, seeing it, I'm like, oh, if I was into horror as a kid, this is probably what it would, you know, look like. Obviously, you know, you wouldn't see like the real monsters, but that you know, the dynamic of the group was good. And you know, for kid actors, they do a pretty all right job. Sometimes, you know, the acting is really is really a bit off there, but overall, like, you know, these kids are acting better than I could in the movie, and I'm like 26 years old. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's basically how I feel about the tone. Nothing really stands out to me though, as far as like the actual crafting of the movie, like the cinematography or any of the color grading or anything like that. Like honestly, I can't remember, I can't picture any of the shots that really stand out as like a wallpaper or beautiful or anything like that. It was just kind of passable in that front, but yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I always like get
Yeah.
drawn to like the kids like forming a group that are kind of like the outcasts, kind of like the same effect like It has or like Stranger Things has. So I kind
Yeah.
of feel the same way, and that like that already is like a point up for me if I'm gonna rate it, because it's just
Yeah.
it makes me connect with the movie that much more. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool. How do you think this group of kids compares to something of like your favorite intellectual property, which is like It? Because they're both like kid movies where there's a little horror in there. What's your perspective on that?
I think it's a little bit harder to compare because I think a big part of it is like the back and forth between the timelines, like the kids and the adults, and that kind of plays a part in it. But if I was going to compare it to something where it was like just about the kids, like it's comparable to like It. I mean, I don't know. They both have like similar back and forths with each other. That's like always like kind of like a comic relief. But man, no one comes close to Ben and Bev and Richie for me.
What do you think?
I don't have anything.
You don't have
I
anything
don't
else?
really can compare either.
Yeah, that's.
It's kind of hard
I was
to.
comparing them the whole movie,
It's kind
but
of hard to compare also because the age groups is a little bit different.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
True.
they didn't really develop any of the characters in Monster Squad. They
No.
were all completely one-dimensional. I think
True.
intentionally because they didn't really have the time to really give you a reason to
Plan
care about
set in
them.
stone.
But
yeah.
Yeah. They didn't
True.
really like lay down like a pathetic backstory to each of them.
right, which the one thing I thought was weird is they had that whole like side story with the mom and the dad like maybe getting a
Yeah.
divorce, and that really
Yeah, I
didn't
was
go
like-
anywhere.
No, I think
Yeah.
that was just like they're like, let's throw this out and see if it sticks, like for someone to like connect with this character more.
Yeah, they were.
Probably just trying to make as long as they possibly can.
Yeah.
They should have just spent more time with Frankenstein and the little girl's relationship because that was the real
Yeah.
heart of the movie.
Yes.
There you
Yes.
go. I'm watching that TV spin-off of that. If they, I know they don't actually have one, but
That would
yeah,
be funny.
I've already said everything I have to say
I
about
have.
this movie. But
Yeah.
I've already said. Jake, you have anything else on yours?
Nope, I really enjoyed it. But like Mike
Yeah.
said,
well, you review it first, then.
You start the rating.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, purely for the entertainment value and kind of, like Mike said, nothing specific about the movie is very fantastic or memorable, but it's just, I think it's the source material of the classic monsters and just the 80s kids spin on it. That's just, it was so much fun, and it kind of, it was nostalgic, even though I didn't see this when I was a kid and I didn't grow up in the 80s, but it really captured that feeling, or at least from what I've seen in other films, it really captured that 80s feeling, which I enjoyed, and I had a lot of fun watching it. I was laughing throughout the whole thing, and I was never looking down at the runtime going, God, is this over yet? So, yeah, it was a very good movie, not an amazing movie, but definitely one I'd watch again.
Yeah, so I'll probably also as well give it like a 7. I was thinking a 6 for a while. It's definitely closer to a 6 for me than it is an 8. I don't like to do like and a half ratings or anything. So if I could, I would say 6.5, but I'm gonna give it a 7 just because I feel the same way. Like it is better than your average movie, which would make me give it a 6. But the feeling of nostalgia and just the fun that I personally have watching it gives it that extra point for me in a very opinionated sort of way. And I've been thinking about like docking it back to a 6 just because of the mediocre cinematography and color grade, all these things. But then I got to think back. This seems like a low budget 80s movie, and I'm just trying to keep that in perspective. And I feel like that's the right way to go. But if I watch it a second time and it's a 6, then I'll let you guys know in a future episode, like in the random section in the very end or something. But right now I'm gonna give it a 7 and maybe go down to a 6 the second viewing.
I'm also going to give it a 7. I really enjoyed
Triple
it,
sevens.
and I just like watching Molly. She watching it, and she seemed to have fun, which made me have a little bit more fun, even though I really enjoyed it. And then at the end, it made me feel kind of sad when Frankie went in there, and yeah, I was mad.
Thumbs up. Yeah.
I
What
think
about you, Pat?
I'm really strict on horror movies. I'm a stickler.
All right.
But 6, I would give it a 6. And that, like, to me, that's really good. Like, it's good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said before, I was automatically kind of like drawn to it because of like the outcast like group of kids aspect to it, and like them kind of having like their own secret. I would say 7, but then I'll start to think of other movies that I would give a 7. I'm just like, I can put it above that. But
Yeah.
6, which is like, I think 6 is solid for the Pat scale.
We normally disagree more than this.
Yeah.
I think this is the only time that we've all rated it the same, all three of us.
Yeah.
I know this is your first time coming in, but I'm just letting you know we normally sometimes it's all over. Sometimes I'll give it a 3, and Jake and Tasha will both agree
9.
like a 7 or 8
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
their tastes are different than mine.
Yeah.
So. Just feel free. Like, you could give it a 1 if you want, man. We're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
gonna blast you.
No.
Jake's
But,
gotten a 2 before, so.
Wait, I gave it
so-
2 or my movie?
You got your movie got
Oh,
it too. 'cause
Pumpkinhead.
Mike gave it on the Dawn of the Dead, I think it was.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Pumpkinhead.
Asleep of the Dead.
Well, when you gave me like the list of the movies, I was like, these are all like pretty like solidified in the culture, like 80s movies. Like, I don't know, like
Except
the
for Cure
thing.
for Wellness, I'm always the one that recommends the modern movie, and they always like dip back.
Yeah, that's
time
true.
decades.
And I guess what was
Mine
it?
are
One was
late,
in
mine's
made in like
late
'98.
90s.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Well, they were
I
all
guess
solid,
speaking
like-
of that.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess we can do Cure for Wellness next, since we're already talking about like contrast, and this is where we might differ a lot. I don't know if we will or not. So I'll do the summary real quick, and then we can go into all of our thoughts. I'll go as quick as possible. My summaries tend to be the longest, so I'm gonna try to condense. So you have basically an admin of Wall Street Bets on Reddit. No, I'm just kidding. You have a guy who's a stock market broker. Basically, he's doing an investing account. He's closing the Ferguson account or whatever. He's doing this stuff. He's obsessed with like his job. He doesn't go see his mom, and his mom's dead and stuff like that because he's trying to work really hard and focus on his career. There's an underlying theme of the movie of like being well in society and conforming and like wasting your life in that way, and all that. But there's basically the main guy is hundreds of years old, and he puts this stuff in the water that makes people kind of crazy, kind of different, conforming, I guess is the correct term for it, but very suggestible. So people come there. This guy drives them there. Mostly wealthy people. They come there. They get into this water psychology purification thing. And then as the plot unfolds, the main characters get there to pick up an investment partner because they're about to get investigated by the SEC. Or the SEC, yeah. So they're trying to get him back, and they don't want to give him up. And so they don't listen to anything the main character says when he's there. So he's like, oh, call me a car, I'm ready to leave. And they don't do these things, and for some reason he doesn't kick up a big stink about it. So anyways, he goes through the plot, and he finds all this shit out. And you find out the guy is literally like, he's such a pure bloodline type of guy that he wants to have sex with his daughter. So that's going on, very creepy. And as it unfolds, we'll talk about the details of the plot, but as it unfolds, you find out more details about like the fire and all the things that happened, to his family previously. And, in the end, it all burns down, and he drives away on a bicycle with his kind of love interest throughout the movie, which was the daughter of the guy who might be hundreds of years old as well. The daughter might be, because and everybody that works there, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, guys. This is the end of the summary, but I believe everybody that works there seems to also be like followers of his from back then, because they're all taking the vitamins. So they're all like the cult that was in that church back then. That's sort of the vibe that I get, but that might be incorrect. Because they're all doing the life essence thing, so I don't see why they wouldn't be also super old. And that's kind of what I realized on this second viewing. This is the second time I've seen it. That's also what I got from like the whole scene where the chick shows her boobs and he's like jerking off to it and stuff. And I'm like, I think that's what they're trying to convey by that, is like that they're from way back then, but I don't know. So go ahead, guys. Sorry, I just talked for a million years.
Go ahead.
I did really enjoy this movie. I had heard, I hadn't seen it, but I had when Mike gave me two choices to pick from last month, I was like, oh, I wanted to see that when it came out, and then I completely forgot about it because it kind of came out and then went away and nobody ever talked about it again. So my expectations were sort of low going in, but overall I liked the message the movie was trying to convey. The cinematography and just everything was really beautiful to look at, and also I thought it built kind of that suspense or that wondering like what's really going on at the facility throughout really well. But my only thing is, I just, like with a lot of Mike's movies, I just felt like 30 to 40 minutes could have been cut out and it could have still accomplished the same thing. But I did enjoy this one. Like, I didn't find myself looking at the runtime except like maybe about the 2 hour mark, right before the climax.
Tasha's gonna say the same thing. I'm just letting you know.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
been
it's
complaining
in
the
my
last
notes.
40 minutes.
It's in
It
my
was long.
notes that it was too long.
As soon as the third act kicked off, she thought the movie was about to end. You know, when, like basically in the scene where she's going and and down into the pool and that stuff
Oh,
happens.
yeah.
Like she thinks it's about to wrap up, but it's got like another 40 minutes left.
Yeah, when he
Uh,
becomes like when he basically gives in to the eel, like where they inject the eels into his like throat. I thought
Yeah.
that was gonna be the end too, and I was like, where are they gonna go with this now?
Yeah.
Why does the main character have more willpower than everybody else there? Because he goes through, like, it does that montage where he goes through the extreme, like, all the treatment after, like, the eel swallowing scene happens.
Yeah.
And then he's, like, floating in the vat and he does all that. I think it might be because he got a couple shots of the vitamin at the bar when he was gone. That's what I sort of have in my head. But, like, that's preemptive. So I don't know if it works that way because they seem like they take it after they drink the water, but
Plot
You know,
hole.
It also, well, they also mention that he's like 30 to 40 years younger than all of the other patients, so maybe that has a factor in it too.
good point.
But yeah, they don't really explore that too much.
Yeah, squeezes them dry for their life essence.
When he was first going there, when you saw like the castle on the hill, it kind of looked like Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
never should have sent that kid to Hogwarts. Yeah,
And,
true.
and going back to the Shining thing, like there were a bunch of shots that I thought were direct homages. Like when he's first driving to the castle and they're on those windy mountain roads and it's kind of that
Yeah, it's
really like far out shot where you can see everything
Like
in
the
the
road up
background.
to the-
It's like that's
Yeah.
yeah. And then when there was like one of his hallucinations where he sees Hannah in the bathtub full of eels, that reminded me of the woman from room 237 or 217, depending on which version you're reading or watching.
That's true.
But yeah, like there was just a lot of like references or homages to The Shining that I thought
Yeah, I could see that.
were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought a lot of the shots and the cinematography in this movie, like two things stand out to me the most. And this isn't even in my notes. This is just something that I remembered. The scene where he's walking with the crutches and he gets trapped sort of in a room where he realizes like in the steam area, where he's walking and he thinks that there's like no exits and he kind of
Yeah.
gets mini lost.
Yeah.
Like that. I thought that was like really well shot for some reason. Like I know I don't know. It's for some reason for me that section stands out, and also the time when he's outside and he meets the girl for the first time and she's going around and you can see the mountains and you can just see like the slight green twist on the color grade that kind of makes everybody's skin look sickly. And there's so many moments, in my opinion, in this movie that look like something that I would screenshot and use as like a wallpaper or something. Like just pretty,
Yeah.
just the way that it's lensed and stuff. I think that is where this movie, for me, shines the most, is in that part of it.
Yeah. The actual production.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do agree with Jake that this movie could be edited tighter, and I will dock a little bit from the movie for that, because I do feel like some of the shots and all the scenes like drag a little too much.
I feel like the bar scene dragged a little too much.
Exactly, prime example.
Yeah, and while I was watching it, I was like mentally cutting the movie as it was going. I was like, this whole bar scene could have been cut, but then it actually did play a purpose later on because it was like Hannah becoming a woman so that the Baron could like impregnate her or whatever he was going to do. So it was like that. It was necessary, but it was. I agree. It could have been like a real quick like go down there. She finds a lipstick and then he gets punched by a local at the end.
I mean, like the whole scene with them actually drinking beer, that could have just been cut.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
goes straight in.
Yeah, or the scene where she dances for the other guys lasts a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like it gets the point across, and then you just keep watching it and keep watching it, and you're like,
Yeah.
whatever.
That is when I checked the runtime during the bar scene.
Yeah. And okay, the only thing upon a second viewing too, like The only plot hole that bothers me a lot is it cuts after he runs in the car after he gets caught and the guy's driving off, and for some reason it cuts to him just telling the local sheriff about it, and I'm just like, when that happens, that's when I think the movie's almost over, because I think he's headed for the hotel that he was heading for the first time when they wrecked.
Yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't have gotten farther out of that town before he stopped to tell somebody.
Yeah, like why didn't he just get out of there and call, like go to a hotel and just call his office and call everybody he needs to call? Like, he seems to have like a decent amount of like influence and stuff. And
Well, I thought it was weird that, he's been there for an X amount of time and the office people just randomly show up. It's like he wasn't concerned before now. Because it's been a long time since he left.
When they showed the montage of him, like, being docile after he gets the eel treatment, it's like, that was probably at least a week or two, like, that whole time lapse.
Yeah, I had a hard time, like, gripping the timeline sometimes.
Yeah. My favorite moment on the second viewing, because I forgot about this and I got to re-experience it, my favorite moment of the entire film is when he realizes his leg is not really broken.
Yeah, that was a good twist.
You're like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
cool.
accepted that his leg was broken.
Yeah.
Honestly, I had a feeling it wasn't. Because I think I told you that I thought it was just an illusion. Trying to keep him there.
I've never broken my leg, but like, wouldn't somebody be able to tell if their leg was broken or not?
I was just about to say that. It's like, why, if his leg is really broken, why does he not feel any pain when he's like running through the halls on his crutches and stuff? But I guess it could be the eels in the water that just make him forget. I don't know.
Yeah.
This movie liked to act like the water thing was going to be a big twist, but they made it so obvious.
Yeah.
Like, they show water at the beginning, they water throughout, they say, like, water puns and water jokes, and then they act like it's this big reveal. And I'm like, are you serious? Do you actually think nobody has figured out it's in the water? And like,
yeah, and even they, like, when he first drinks the water, they show the little, like, micro eel
gnat
like thing on his finger, and it's like, oh, that's what's causing these people to be docile, is whatever this is. Yeah. It was weirdly structured in that way. You're right, because it kind of gave you the whole thing, except I guess the big twist was that Hannah was actually the bear. Like, that was the Baron, and Hannah was his daughter. I guess that was the main. Yeah. I guess it was like a misdirect almost.
Even Hannah even said that the water was dangerous, like, really early in the movie, too.
Oh, yeah.
When he first met her.
She was, like, throwing food in the water, and he was like, is there something in there? And she goes, all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. They picked... I like how they just... Also, when they casted this, they tried to pick people who would fit the roles, and I think they casted it really well. Like, I give them that. This guy was much better in this movie than he was in Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets. I thought. I don't know if you guys ever saw City of a Thousand Planets.
I didn't.
But
No.
This one was better. He just fit better in this role. Maybe that's why I didn't like him in the other one, just because now I just think of him as this guy. But
yeah, I thought he was good, and then Lucius Malfoy was pretty good as Baron, and
yeah.
I thought
wait, that was Lucius Malfoy?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
And like the bad guy from The Patriot, like the staple of villains.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know either, honestly.
He's great.
That's probably why the castle looks like Hogwarts.
Jason
just subliminally, you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say one thing. I don't want to forget to say this. So Jake volunteered when we did the December one that when he watches Krampus, it gives him existential dread. For some reason, when I watch any movie with with any kind of like psych ward, one thing that I really root for is the character to get their agency back. As far as like nobody's like listening to what this guy's saying, and he he's trying like he tries to leave and he said, "Hey, I'll crutch myself over here." And then they do the bike thing where they ride downhill. Where I'm just like, how are they gonna get back up the hill with this bike?
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, they're just pushing it. But then they end up picking them up and everything works out. But anyways, the like for me like. It's not scary. This movie, none of these movies in this list is very scary. But when I watch this, I feel this like depression sense for some reason of like a lack of agency of the character. You know, it just makes me sad. I don't know why. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? You know?
Yeah.
No?
It's not like it's not a dread, but it's just. I feel like the movie just wants you to feel kind of like hopeless or like depressed. I guess depressed is a good word. It wants you to feel kind of isolated and like you don't really know what's going on, kind of like the character. But
I kind
I was about to say kind of like you're in this like word yourself.
It's a lot of setup and a lot of payoff too. That's what I like. You know,
that
one of the things I like
feeling
about
that
the
it gives kind of like it gave me the same feeling as when I watched like Ex Machina, where it's just kind of like very like put off from the rest of the world, and it's just like you kind of feel this like hopelessness that like the character is feeling as well. Because I remember watching Ex Machina and just being like, oh my god, this movie makes me so depressed and anxious. Like,
yeah, I could agree with that, but I like Ex Machina a lot better than this movie.
I love it. Yeah, I like adore that movie.
I haven't seen it.
Oh man, it's so good.
Don't feel bad, Jake.
I won't be recommending it because it's not a horror movie, but
No.
you know,
It's psychological.
check it out if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't have
this one did have a couple good like body horror like moments where I kind of cringed and had to look away, like when he was getting his tooth drilled and like
Oh yeah,
like and they're like
Yeah,
we don't believe in anesthesia here, so we're just gonna strap you down.
Yeah.
that's when he should have noped out of there.
Yep. Well, no, I think
Like-
right after that he went to the front and was like, "Call me a car." Or
Yeah,
he did leave, and then that's when he went directly to the police station. And then
yeah, because that's
Yeah,
when the
you're
guy,
right.
the guy picked him up. That's why it makes even less sense that he stopped on the way. Like he should have been wanting to yeet out of there. And then he just goes back with them whenever like he sees Pembroke and he's like, maybe I am crazy. So he goes back and I'm like, they just drilled your tooth. Did you forget? Like, well, no, you're not crazy. They're crazy.
I thought the movie was gonna go that route where like the twist was gonna be that like this was a real hospital that were just trying to help him and he just was going crazy and it was all gonna be in his mind. I'm glad they didn't do that. I liked the
Shutter Island.
Yeah.
I liked the new.
I was trying not to say it.
Yeah.
But I think, like I said, I liked the message about. It's kind of like that, like the pharmaceutical companies make all these medicines to keep you sick, and then you can just get better. Like they'll help you enough so you can get better, but then you'll be sick again. So it's kind of that like conspiracy theory that like the government and everything's out to get you.
Yeah.
But I liked the message. I liked that kind of message, but also just it was more of like a message about how to live a meaningful life because he was just this investment banker or whatever he was that was just all he cared about was his career, and he was like he wasn't there when his mom died because he was on a business trip. So basically it's just I think that's kind of what the end was when he leaves the office workers and rides away on the bike. It was like him leaving that behind and kind of embracing his actual wellness of being happy or whatever. But I don't know why he had that Jack Torrance smile in the last shot. That was weird.
Yeah.
I think it's because they wanted to leave you on like a note of crazy. Because that actor does look pretty crazy with a missing tooth.
Yeah.
I give him that.
Yeah.
Jake, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about the theme of the movie, because I was going to ask you guys, like, as my sort of parting question for this movie is, like, how did you feel about the whole dynamic of him and his dad, and then it kept cutting back to that, and then it used that to exemplify the theme at just the right moments? in my opinion. And then it had him, on the same bridge, about to jump off, and then he like kind of learns his lesson, and so it kind of does make him, in a sense, more well or whatever. In that, he abandons that in the end, but at the same time, like, what next? Like,
Yeah.
is he gonna just take this lady to the U.S.? Like, what's gonna
Well, he
happen
can't
here?
go back to the U.S., right? Because he's wanted for fraud or whatever by the SEC.
I mean, he could just like go face the music for that. I mean, I don't know.
That's not my wellness.
Nah.
I mean, he doesn't have to be Snowden. He can go back and admit to all of this crap.
Yeah, and then if Hannah goes with him and he ends up going to prison, then she's like left
But
alone.
but if Hannah stops taking the vitamins, will she like automatically age into a 200-year-old woman and die, or will she age normally?
I don't think that she will age. I think that she will age normally if she stops taking it, because I think it just like freezes you in time at that point. I don't know. That's my theory, but
That would make more
it doesn't
sense.
have to work that way.
I guess.
Yeah, this ain't the Wizard of Oz. They're trying to be realistic.
I mean, is that realistic? That like eel sweat would be the elixir of life?
Yeah. Eel sweat. Eel sweet.
Anything else? 'Cause
No, I think I'm good on this one. I guess since it's my recommendation, I'll go first again. So, the first time I saw this movie in theaters, I probably would have given it an 8. I enjoyed it that much. I saw it by myself. I went isolated. At the beginning of my viewing session, I thought that I accidentally, like for the first 15 minutes until that train shot that had the double reflection at the beginning where the train's turning a corner,
Yeah.
until that shot, I thought I might have accidentally went into 50 Shades of Grey instead, and not paid attention to those little movie signs, because the whole movie, like the beginning is graded in the skyscraper, and the skyscraper looks really gray and stuff, and it kind of was looking up like that, and I'm like, and then it pans in there, and I'm like, is this going to end up being like a sex scene? What's happening? And then I realized, oh, I'm not in like 50. Yay, I'm not in 50 Shades of Grey by myself. I was the only one in the movie when I saw it.
Really?
And it was like opening weekend. Yeah, it's just like nobody in West Virginia wanted to watch it. There was this other lady in there, but she left after like the first 10 minutes.
Really?
That's amazing.
So it was just me. Yeah.
so you said an
Yeah.
8.
So
then.
I would have given it an 8 after I saw it because I enjoyed it so much. But on a second viewing and through a more critical eye 4 years later, I'm actually going to give it a 6. I think it's a better than average movie, but I enjoy it less than Monster Squad overall because of the difference in the pacing. And I think the reason that brings it above mediocrity, which is 5, the average movie, is the cinematography and the filmmaking and all that. Aside from the editing, on the crafting of the film, I like grades that either go really heavy on the green or really heavy on the blue. It's just me. It's just appealing to my eyes and my brain.
I'm the same way, even
6
though
out
I'm
of 10.
colorblind. So whatever, it might be like red and yellow, but for me, green and blue are good grades for me. But we all know my eyes are way off.
I'm actually going to give it a 5 out of 10. Because honestly, I think it was just too long. It kept pulling me out of the movie. And to be honest, I like Shutter Island better than this one. I've told you that before when I was watching it. But they did have some good shots and colors. But 5.
Okay.
Jake?
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 as well. I enjoyed the movie. I liked like I said, the cinematography was great. I liked the message it was going for. I just think it kind of it didn't really hit the mark. Like I thought the eels as the creatures that were causing all of these people to be sick was a little weird and thin, and like when the Baron's ripped his mask off and it was like that weird CGI like half burned skeleton, I was like, all right, this is a different movie now. So like the ending
Total shift.
the ending was a little weird, but I don't know how they could have ended it better. It's kind of like that what I said about Rare Exports. Like I wasn't a huge fan of the ending, but I don't know what they could have done different.
it wasn't as bad. The ending wasn't as bad as Rare Exports.
No, it was
in my
not.
opinion.
True.
Yeah.
But like I said, it kind of reminded me of The Shining, and it made me want to watch The Shining instead. I was like, this is good, but I would rather watch The Shining to get the same vibe. So, yeah, 6 out of 10. It was good, but not great.
I start to give it a 6, but then I was like, but did I enjoy it more than Monster Squad? Or even the same? And I'm just like, no, not really. So I'd give it a 5. That's not to knock the movie, but comparatively to the other movies that we're talking about, I'd give it a 5. I remember seeing like the previews for it like in a theater, and then never really like being interested enough to actually sit down and watch it. But reading even like the summary for it before watching it, I was like, oh shit, this is like a really cool like psychological idea. And I think the actual like technical production stuff like was more enjoyable than the actual storyline.
Alright, so I picked Urban Legend. It came out in 1998. And basically, at the very beginning, this lady is driving. I'm assuming she's doing a road trip, and she's getting low on gas. So she stopped at a gas station, and basically the guy came and filled up her car, and he saw something in her back seat. So he's trying to get her out of her car, saying that the credit card's on the phone because there's something wrong with her credit card. Find out he's just trying to protect her. She thinks that he's trying to do something to her, kill her or whatever, and then she runs away, drives down the road, just to find out there's somebody in the back seat who kills her. And then it takes place at a university. It's called Stanley Hall, I do believe it's called. I could be wrong. And basically there's murders going on, and the killer is doing like urban legend kills. So like one is like, glad you didn't turn on the lights, and different ones throughout the movie. And they're basically they think it might be the professor because he teaches an urban legend class, which obviously finds out it's not him. And you just basically at the end find out that it's this crazy girl because this girl and her friend killed her boyfriend by doing an urban legend. So that's how she started doing the kills, and tried to do an urban legend on her, which it failed. And just find out she didn't die at the end, and she ends up trying to tell the story to these other students.
Good summary. Yep, that's pretty much everything with no extra details like I always do. Because I always sprinkle opinions into my summary. It's like, yeah, and I guess he drives away over here for some reason. But I honestly, guys, and this is going to be controversial because The Thing is the thing. But for me, I don't know if it was just the mood when I watched this one, but this one was my favorite in the pack. I like this one a lot, and just because I like a good mystery, you know, I like a lot of people probably will say that they got it, and I didn't again. So I claim to be a good person to solve the mysteries in movies, but this one eluded me as well. I thought for sure it was the professor. I fell for the bait on that, and I was completely wrong.
See, I was the opposite. You know, I'm usually the one that never can guess who it is.
You guessed it? Nailed it?
I guessed it because we just did Happy Death Day, and it's kind of the same idea, where it's like there's all these directions to point you to somebody, but it's really in this case, it wasn't the roommate, it was like the best friend. But I was just like, I actually got this one, I think because, I don't know if
because last month we did Happy Death Day, so it was kind of like back to back.
Yeah, I don't know if Happy Death Day like borrowed that, or if that's a bigger 90s horror cliche that I don't know about, but like, it really reminded me of Happy Death Day with that kind of twist at the end.
Well, now
I didn't even make that comparison when I was watching it. Pat, have you ever seen Happy Death Day yet?
No, I remember.
That's okay.
You gave it
we
like
just
a 5-second review that pretty much just consisted of "don't watch it," and I was just like, okay.
No, I love it.
Or wait, maybe it was the
favorites.
wasn't there like an adaptation of it that was not
The second one.
Okay.
The second
Okay,
one.
that's-
Because you were like, I'm gonna go see the second one. I enjoyed it. It was kind of dumb, but like it's nothing like the first one in my opinion is a lot better.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, because you were like, I'm thinking about going this weekend. I think something better was playing at the time. I'm like, go see that instead.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah.
But I found this one on a whim, like when I was growing up, because I saw that Robert Englund played it, and I was like, oh, well, and it was like $5 at FYE on VHS. I was like, well, I'll try it. And it's
True 90s story. I bought it on VHS from FYE. Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even know. Like, I didn't go to FYE in the 90s. I don't remember going into an FYE until like 2000s, like
Same.
middle school.
Yeah, that
was
I
the
was-
spot.
yeah, FYE, that's where I bought Green Day's American Idiot, so that's the time period I was going to FYE.
Yeah, same. Fallout Boy.
Don't wanna burn, burn.
um,
Copyright.
Oh, From Under the Cork Tree, that one?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I bought that there too, I think.
Oh yeah.
I think the worst honest urban legend on that, I didn't like the dog one. It made me feel really sad for the dog. When they put him in the microwave,
Oh yeah, that was... Was that an urban
That was
legend?
mean.
it was in the book, apparently.
Yeah.
Because, like, right before that, it was the When a Stranger Calls, like, urban legend, which made
Yeah.
me laugh, too.
That's
Yeah.
in my notes. Yeah. It was like the same story as When a Stranger Calls.
Yeah, I like...
As far as that part of it.
Okay, well, let's do that. What was everyone's favorite, like, urban legend little vignette kill thing that they did?
So this is the first note that I made, and this is why it's my favorite. I feel like a lot of movies now, they really try to make sure that even the dumbest person in the audience still understands and follows every little thing. So for me, I really liked how much they respected your intelligence when they did the first urban legend of the girl that went into the
The gas
room, the
station.
gas station, and the guy could barely talk, and then she went out and the guy's in the back seat. And that, I could see that being unclear to someone who doesn't watch a lot of films, because the guy was trying to pull her in there to save her, and he couldn't convey that, and then he ended up being in the back seat so you could see him there. I could see how that could be unclear to some people, and they didn't do anything to make sure that you understood what was happening there.
Yeah.
And I really respected that. It clicked for me like after it did the backseat reveal, and it took like 1 or 2 seconds after I saw it, and I was like, oh, I don't normally have to like think about what just happened and put it together a little bit in my head. It's like normally spoon-fed to you in movies. And that's why I like that one a lot. It just opened up, and I'm like, I respect this movie already because it respects me. We have this mutual respect going now. So,
I don't really have a favorite, but I think one of the worst ones would be the high beam one when they flash the headlights.
that's my number 2.
Yeah,
I like
that was, I honestly, I hadn't heard really, I'd only heard 3 of these urban legends. The stranger, the one in the, or I guess the one in the person in the back seat, the When a Stranger Calls, the, like the boyfriend hanging above the car, and then they
Yeah.
kind of briefly touched on Bloody Mary, like that idea.
Yeah.
But like the high beams one, I never heard that growing up. I didn't know that was an urban legend.
I don't think I've heard of any of these urban legends.
I
I,
think-
just heard about like the Mothman and
I
stuff.
think I heard about the pop rocks and the pop.
Oh, yeah. I've
I
heard of
did.
that one.
Yeah, that one too, I guess.
That's the real pop culture one they had. I love how the guy acted like that, like like he was gonna die or whatever.
Oh, and when it's hitting, he acted like it was hitting his intestines.
Yeah, so
Fooled me because it's a horror movie, So I thought they were gonna.
well, I don't know what it was about this movie, but like I said, I usually don't guess stuff that's going to happen. Maybe it was because they pulled from like urban legends I'd heard before, but like everything in this movie, I predicted what was going to happen. Like the girl in the car, I was like, oh, this is the killer in the back seat urban legend. I was like, yep, there it is. And like the Pop Rocks and Coke, I was like, that guy's not really dying. He's pretending. Oh, there it is. I don't know what it was about this movie, but like for one time in my life, I could predict everything that was going to happen in the movie.
Like, it was honestly, I had really fun just watching him trying to figure out who it is because he normally gets it and he failed this time. It was kind of fun watching him, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about me.
I was like, which
Okay.
character are we talking about?
Yeah, me too. I was thinking the exact same thing as she was talking about me. Yeah, dude, I always spoil it for Tasha because I'm like, this is what's gonna happen, and that's what happens. But this one, I guess it's just I don't know. I guess I'm just dumb. I just didn't figure anything out.
I took the bait too, but I'm also like, just laughably bad at trying to guess, especially in horror movies. There's always like an obvious twist that happens, and I'm just like, oh, and everyone's just like.
That's how I always am.
The opening credits like even ended, and I'm just like, oh, can you believe that? But no, once again, I failed at catching or solving before the end of the movie. But yep, took the bait. Super surprised. I think when it comes to like the favorite urban legend, I'd always heard one of the ones was like the high beam thing. That's always like. You hear like that all the time, and you'll meet some people that are like, oh, I know this girl who was like driving down the road, and this 18-wheeler kept hitting her with the high beams, and he like pulled some guy out of the back of their car. I was just like, oh god, it just made me think of that one person that you'll usually run into that's just like swears they know someone that happened to. But it was cool to see it play out on screen. So yeah, that was probably my favorite one.
Okay.
If I'm going to talk about a criticism, and keep in mind, this is my favorite of the week, okay, or of the month. But I got one huge criticism for this one, and that is in the plot at the end where the girl who ends up being the murderer, when she's trying to do her monologue in the end, her acting just fell off a cliff all of a sudden, and I feel like that might have been the director's fault because. I don't think that she had proper motivation, dialogue, and like all these things, the tools that she needed to bring a successful performance. Because I believed her performance throughout the movie until that scene, and honestly, during that scene and up until the police lady showed up and kind of like the dynamic changed, I was cringing. Like I literally thought the acting was that bad. Maybe you guys didn't feel that way, but in that section where she's like tied up and she's like trying to do the thing and she's like or whatever, and she's like giving this like monologue where she's supposed to be evil, I just did not believe anything she was saying. I was just like, nah, you're not selling it to me, lady. But that's just me.
Yeah, that was over the top, but honestly, that was my that actress, like, that was the only time in the movie I thought she was actually entertaining and memorable. So, like,
really,
but
opposite.
I wasn't. I never really took this movie seriously. I was kind of approaching it from that like Scream, the '90s meta, like everything's kind of like tongue in cheek. It's intentionally over the top and kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the vibe I was getting. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's why when it came to that, I kind of cut it some slack, but it was out of left field, and it was kind of the same thing in Happy Death Day, which is the tie-in there, where it's like this character acts normal throughout the entire movie, and then all of a sudden they're just a psycho, like they flip a switch, and it's just it's kind of a cheat because there's nothing to really point you that that's the killer, but it's like, oh, it was a whodunit mystery. Well, not really, because you didn't plant any seeds to like. I only guessed who it was because it was so similar to Happy Death Day. But
okay, question for you guys. I suspect that this might be a difference of opinion, or we might all agree on this one. What did you guys think of the goth character? Because I thought it was funny.
Loved it.
That's my
that was
opinion.
the best part for me.
She posted on the message boards about like how she wants to have sex, and I'm just like, this is awesome. This is so funny. This is giving me an insight into maybe what the real college experience was way back then. I could totally see that like actually being a thing, but at the same time, like.
Speaking of the goth girl, that's the little girl in Halloween 4 and 5 and 6.
Jamie or whatever.
Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, I
actually met that actress.
I saw that after the
convention.
What? You met that actress?
Yeah, the girl who played Jamie. It was in like right outside Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
How long
Yeah.
ago was
You-
that?
I almost didn't even hear you say that. We almost moved on. So that's cool.
She was really sweet.
How long ago was that? Was that recent?
No, I was in like 8th grade, and then it was actually in what is it? Like Morristown or whatever. It's where they shot Dawn of the Dead, and I went to that mall like that same day because I really wanted to see that mall that they like took cover in and everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
childhood crush, Jamie.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she's pretty attractive.
But yeah,
Ratings.
she was the funniest part of the whole movie
Yeah.
for me. Like,
Yeah.
well, like, I guess she was intentionally funny. Some of the other stuff was funny, but I don't know if it was meant to be.
The fact that she died in the room with her, oh.
Yeah.
And just
But they film it in a way where you can kind of believe it. Because this is her earbuds. She's like, I got my CD player, because everybody's had that roommate, that makes too much noise, and you just like try to
Well-
pretend like that they don't exist.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that you don't hate your life, and you just face the
Well,
other
a lot of reason why she puts the earbuds in, she's always bringing a new guy having sex with.
way. Yeah, it's very, very promiscuous.
Yeah, the roommate's very well trained. Just be like, I'm not gonna look over there. I'm just gonna put my earbuds in.
It reminds me of the Scott Pilgrim scene where he's like, turn off the light! Whatever when she goes in.
Did you have anything else in your notes?
Yeah, let me check my notes.
Honestly, I did not take a single note for this one.
Well, this is like one of your faves from when you were a
So-
kid, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've already went over all my notes. One thing that I wanted to add is you know what really threw me off is when they were both running together away from the guy, and we didn't even talk about the guy character that she thought it was in the end when they abandoned him at the gas station. Every time the movie was trying to sell me that person was the bad guy, I believed them. So I was like, oh, it's the professor, and then the professor dies, and I'm like, well, shit, I'm an idiot. And then I'm like, oh, it's definitely that kid, he's in the gas station, it's in his car, it's in his trunk. And then they run, and then the chick trips, and she's like, ah! And I'm just like, oh, she's dead, and it's going to be the guy, and then, no. So that's how they fooled me the whole time.
Of course
But-
they're going to try to get you to think Jared Leto did it.
Well, oh yeah, I forgot that was Jared Leto. It's like, see him in Suicide Squad, decades later.
Did
Yeah.
anyone get fooled by the janitor though? Like, I felt like that was the most obvious red herring in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I never thought it was him.
Did you have anything else, Jake, or
Or Pat.
Pat?
Yeah.
Not really. I am proud of myself for not falling for the janitor. I'll take that. That's something I could take away. But no, I mean, I like it. I like,
Yeah.
as much as I like 80s horror movies, like I still love like the late 90s because that's one era I can like subtly relate to. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like urban legends or even like some of the older Halloween movies like 5 and 6 as they like start to get in that like era. I always like, so
Yeah.
it wasn't my favorite out of the pack, but I still enjoyed it.
Cool.
Jake, do you have anything else?
Well, I just wanted to say that we said Robert Englund was in the movie, but actually Brad Dourif, the voice of Chucky, was the gas station attendant in the very first scene too.
What?
So I was just,
Damn.
yeah, oh yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
I heard the voice, I was like, that sounds familiar, and then I saw him and I was like, oh my god, that's him.
Well,
Oh my god.
the villain, she played in Scream too.
Oh really? Which,
Yeah, she's sorority girl.
oh, well I didn't know
Brief.
that.
Brief.
Huh.
And then,
See, you guys have all this trivia about old ass horror movies, and I'm like,
It's
talk
not
to me about some James
that
Wan movies.
old. It's not that old.
it's well no, it's
Aquaman.
22 years old now, I guess.
Come at me.
Yeah, in a sense.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
The only other thing that I thought was hysterical was in the very first scene when the girl's about to be killed by the guy in the back seat. The song on the radio is "Turn Around." Somebody gets a little bit closer. Turn around. That made me laugh out loud
song
so
is
hard.
trying to tell you song.
Yeah, this movie's fun. You just boosted it by a point. I'm just kidding.
0.5.
All right, well then we'll go ahead and get in a rating.
Yeah, Jake, you rate first. It was your rec.
It
That
was
was
mine.
Tasha's.
Oh, I'm
Come
sorry.
on, Mike.
Tosh's rec. I'm sorry. I got too much twisted tea. Too much twisted tea.
You know, growing up, I liked it a little bit more, but I'm gonna have to give it a 6 this time. It was still fun to watch, but it's one of the movies. If you watch it and then watch it again, it's like, you know, there's nothing really for you to pick up, really.
So you're docking it maybe a point or two for rewatchability.
Yes.
Okay. Fair.
But I'm really, you know, like I said, the main reason why I watched it had Robert Englund, which is my favorite actor, so 6.
Okay. I guess I'll go next since I'm sitting right next to you. This one's my favorite out of the pack, but I'm gonna give it an 8. I really like the tone of the movie. I think it's a very fun story. I really like. I think one thing that encapsulates what this movie's all about is in the end when the girl who was the murderer goes, no, actually the story goes, and then then she starts telling the story. There's 2 scenes where characters are actually physically telling stories, and I like that the movie is trying to tell me a compelling story. And I'm just engaged throughout. I think it's got a great tone. It's funny when it wants to be. It's it's entertaining when it wants to be. And overall, I only felt that the ending. If the ending wasn't the way it was, I would probably give it a 9. I liked it that much. And I've only given a couple movies a 9 since we started the podcast. So yeah, or 9 or a 10. But yes. This one was amazing. I can't really explain my thoughts too well on this movie, but I'm gonna give it an 8 anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead, Pat. That's fine.
I think I'd give it like a 5. Kind of like going back to what Tasha said, like I knew Mike was gonna cringe, but
I forgot. Can I add one small thing? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Pat.
you're just Connie me.
I don't want to forget. I think that the rewatchability is high, actually. I want to watch this movie again soon. Okay, so everybody's shaking their heads. We're doing video. Oh, no. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to say. I just want to say my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine's pretty short and straight to the point, but yeah, it'd probably be a 5 just for like the rewatchability. I still enjoyed it, but I think I mainly enjoyed it for it pulling some nostalgia strings, but still good. Always kind of drawn to like the classic slasher, especially when it's set in that time period. So I'd give it a solid 5.
Okay, Jake?
I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I think it was. I had a lot of fun watching it. I really enjoyed it. Like Tasha and Pat said, the rewatchability is pretty low for me since, and I don't know if it was because for some reason I could predict every beat of this movie. So I enjoyed it, but I was kind of surprised that I was able to get to figure it out. So I was like, this movie is super predictable if even I can figure it out. But it's interesting to me that I was the only one that kind of guessed who the killer was. I thought it was going to be like everyone figured it out and it was the most obvious thing ever. But so I think it bumped up a little bit for me there because it wasn't just me that kind of I don't know where I'm going. I've lost my train of thought. It derailed a long time ago. Basically, I like this movie. It's good, not great. It was funny, probably on purpose, and then sometimes not on purpose. The end.
All right. Jake, you got another one you have to give a synopsis of.
Oh yeah, my real recommendation was The Thing. The Monster Squad was kind of Josh's pick, and I'm kind of sad because I love that movie now. But The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies. Apparently, I'm a John Carpenter fan. I didn't realize I was, but Halloween's my all-time favorite horror movie. So, and then The Thing is up there. So obviously, I like John Carpenter. But
Okay.
The Thing. Basically, there's a group of U.S. Researchers that are stationed in Antarctica in a research facility. It opens on there's this dog just running through the snowy expanse of Antarctica, and he's being chased by, I think they're like Norwegian or Russian, I don't remember, but some country that they're trying to kill this dog, and the dog runs into the American camp, and the Norwegians try to kill the dog, but then they end up killing themselves, and the Americans kill them, and then they just kind of take the dog in, and then some weird stuff starts to happen, like I think the first thing is they see the thing transform into this like demon, and it kills all the dogs, and then it slowly starts to like take over the body of certain people in the camp, and then it's kind of this like weird like people are trying to guess who has been taken over by the thing, who hasn't. It's this really tense kind of middle and third act where they're kind of turning against each other and fighting amongst themselves, and then it just ends with them basically burning everything down just so the thing can't escape. Yeah.
Well, let's just start from the first scene. I think that guy in the helicopter was a terrible shooter because I feel like he could have shot that dog.
Yes. I put in my notes.
It was not American Sniper.
I put in my notes. I was like, is that pilot a stormtrooper? Or
Oh, that's what Mike said when we was watching it
Literally
today.
said that out loud. Well, we watched this one today. This one is fresh. We watched it like it ended at 5, and now it's 7:30.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, or it was when we started recording. Yeah.
I also was kind of mad that he dumped that drink on the computer. It's like, you're such a sore loser for losing.
Tasha, that
The
is
chest.
literally my second note. I think we're gonna have the exact same notes on this movie.
Yeah, this is the same notes. Sore loser.
What's your next note, Tasha?
Let me see. I was just going to talk about how the skin effect would look pretty cool when they were stretching it out
Oh,
at the very end with the thumbs.
oh yeah. My third note was diabetes.
I did get pretty. I never usually get a jump scare, but when they were dipping the pen
Oh,
in
yeah.
the blood, and that one jumps out of nowhere.
That jump scare made me mad. I was like, you bastards.
Yeah, I think I love I think it's like the second and third act when everyone in the facility starts to turn on each other, and they lock Blair the scientist out in the like the shed or whatever it is, and then when they do the blood test, I thought that was I thought it was good that it focused more on the like the infighting amongst the team rather than the actual alien. So it was kind of the message I was getting is like the real villain is like man fighting man or whatever. So I think I liked that aspect of it, that it was this supernatural kind of alien movie, which I don't usually like those type of movies. I'm not a huge sci-fi person, but I liked that this it was just very believable how the characters reacted. Like they were, especially Kurt Russell's character McGreedy, I think it was, where he just kind of he became the de facto leader because they couldn't trust anyone else, and then he like tied the people up, and then as their blood tested okay, then he would untie them. So it was very believable to me just how the characters went about kind of figuring out who wasn't a thing, who was. So I thought it was a good exploration of kind of how people would react in that situation.
Yeah.
But that's why I enjoy this movie.
I always liked John Carpenter's like effects, especially on skin, because it reminded me a lot of Halloween 3.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's everything in my notes is about practical effects. I mean, this movie is what you watch when you want to learn how to do good practical effects, or when you want to see like the tip of it. Although I would argue that Hellraiser is up there with it. I didn't even know about Hellraiser until this podcast, but the practical effects of it are that good. But this one is the movie as far as I'm concerned for that.
Yeah.
Especially the scene that's got the guy's head, and it's like attached to the alien, and he does the whole, fire thing and burns it, and it like uses its tongue to like pull the
Oh
head
yeah,
into the
that was
table,
funny.
and that the whole sequence is just incredible for the time.
Yeah, and
It,
Holds up so well.
the scene when the other doctor is like trying to figure out what's wrong with the curly haired blonde guy, and then the stomach opens up and eats his arms. That was like the biggest shock moment the first time I watched it.
Yeah. He just loses his arms. He's just like clear, and it's like.
well, in that same scene, it blows my mind with that many people in the room. They didn't see that head just walking away.
Yeah.
We don't have vision anymore.
Yeah, it has a couple like
I think.
LOL WTF moments, but
Yeah. Talk about it, man. Go
I
ahead.
don't know, just stuff like that. But I think it always comes back to like the '80s thing. I think, but I mean, I had seen this last time I saw this. I was like 10 years old, and it scared the living crap out of me. But it's honestly up there in like top 20, top 15 for me. I think it's genuinely like one of the just like straight to the point, like best all around horror movies.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I feel like if it was made today, I don't want them to remake it ever. I think it's fine as it is. But if it was made today, I think the editing could be a little tighter, kind of like A Cure for Wellness. Like, it is a slow burn movie, which I like that the first act kind of builds up, and it kind of builds the tension of, like, we don't know who is a thing and who isn't. But I do think that could have been cut a little tighter and kind of gotten to the crazy effects and the transformations a little sooner.
Okay.
But I think
Yeah.
the movie, or not to be on a tirade, but the movie I thought it did a good job of kind of pointing you to different people that could potentially be a thing, like, or kind of having you guessing, because there's one shot where the dog kind of walks by a room and you just see a silhouette on the wall and the dog walks in, and then it lingers on that for a second and then it cuts. So it's like, all right, somebody is a thing, and you're trying to guess who the dog went in to like turn. So I like stuff like that kind of built tension. But I'll stop talking.
I think this movie created a board game culture because there are so many like card and board games around this premise, and I think this movie really kind of sells it. Like Alien Entity, what we used, me and Pat used to play when he was at Impact, and just stuff like that, where it's like a whodunit. Everybody's human, you got one alien, and like there's so many games. And I think that this movie really pioneered that concept and made it to where it's just interesting to everyone. It sells the idea perfectly.
I love that game.
Okay. Yeah, it is a fun game.
Yeah, shout out to Alien Entity. Most people probably don't know about it. There's just a
They're
couple
surprisingly
that makes it,
small.
Yeah, I mean, like it's got like 20 reviews on Amazon. Like, go check those guys out. We get no shout out or anything. Go check out the game Alien Entity. Yeah, sponsored.
Yeah, we
got to get those YouTube ad dollary dues.
We played that game one time when you guys were down for Horror Nights, and Tasha destroyed me. I was trusting her the whole time, and she was like, "You are dead."
Infected. Hope you remember this moment where you made the wrong choice.
That's when I knew Tasha was a badass.
Yeah, I took it with me, Pat.
fun.
I did my trademark play It Follows soundtrack. I do that every time I play.
Yeah.
Where it's like, na 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 na.
That's
Good
such a
mood
good
setter.
score.
Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect for that game.
Yeah.
Do you have anything besides practical effects in your nose?
No, that's really why I would go back and watch this. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The reason why I said that Urban Legends is my favorite, and the reason why I'm docking just a little bit from this one, is because of the pacing for me. Like, I love the concept of the movie, and see, everybody's gonna disagree with me on this devoutly, okay, like badly, but I actually think this movie is prime for a remake. Like, I would love to see the really well made but like tighter edited version of this. but it's never gonna have that like practical effect quality as this one. If it could, in a parallel universe where somebody really talented could take it and tighten it up and make it a little bit more modern, I'd be interested in seeing a remake of it. But that's just me. That's not gonna happen. If they make a remake, it's gonna be a cash grab where they don't care about the IP or anything. But I'm just saying, if it was well made, I would like to see a remake of it, but only if it was well made.
It's funny because this movie technically is a remake of the 50s version of this.
True.
So it's like,
Very true.
I think this is, I haven't seen
Big
the
true.
50s version, so I really can't say, but I feel there's no way the 50s version could be better than this.
No.
No.
So I
So
think
you
this
don't-
is a rare case where the remake is better than the original.
Yeah.
Other than maybe The Fly.
Oh yeah, that's probably better than the original too.
Yeah.
Superfly.
I don't
Fly.
have anything else. Jake or Pat, do you have anything else?
No, this was just not like. This was the one that wasn't like an experimental for me because I had seen it, but no, I think it's one of the best, like just straight to the point horror movies that whenever I think of my favorites. Yeah, it's just straight horror, and I still find it like satisfyingly terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, that sounded like your summary. Do you want to break tradition and give your rating with that?
Me,
Yeah.
I'll go. Like I said, I'm pretty strict on horror movies, but I'd go like 8 for the sake of not rounding up to a 9. But I'll go solid 8.
It's in your top 20 and you give it an 8, so
I
it's
told
really
you.
hard to get a 9 or a 10 out of you.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
remember that.
Alright, well, let.
There's
alright,
maybe
Jake, what
2 or
about you?
3.
Well, I just wanted to, before I do my rating, I just want to pose a question. The last scene where it's McGreedy, Kurt Russell, and I think Childs is his name, the black guy that was kind of skeptical
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing. Do you
Yeah.
think he was a thing at the end, or do you think he was human still?
I think he was the thing.
Same.
Yeah, I
I agree.
well, yeah, okay, we all agree. So I thought the same thing. Because I watched like some conspiracy videos on it, and they were like, "Well, if you look at the last shot, McGreedy's got a lot of like when you can see your breath. What's that called? Like steam or fog? Like he has a lot of
Yeah.
fog when he's talking, but Childs has none. So he's obviously an alien." And I was like, "That's plausible."
Yeah, I could see that.
But I guess that'll lead into the ratings. I'm gonna also give this one an 8 out of 10. It's not in my all-time favorite movies, but it's up there. It's definitely in the top 20, like Pat said. So I think just because of the humanity aspect of it, like all of
Yeah.
the characters act in a believable way. There's none of that suspension of disbelief that you usually have to do in a horror movie. It feels very, very real, and also kind of like Mike said about the Cure for Wellness. It just kind of gives me this sense of like depression and hopelessness because they're basically stranded on an Antarctic outpost, and there's no help for them, and you just know that they're not. You just know from the beginning that nobody's gonna get out of this alive. Pretty much is what was my thought. It was so there's just this like self-fulfilling, hopeless prophecy that I see throughout. So I really enjoy it for that aspect. Me does.
Nice. You want me to go next, or do you want to go next?
That's can go.
So, there's so many things I love about this movie, and there's just a couple things I don't. So I'll give my rating and then I'll justify it. So I'm gonna give it a 7. And there's a couple elements that I would give a 10 out of 10. To this movie. One is obviously the practical effects. I said it's among the best, if not the best, that I've seen in that department. So that's a 10 out of 10. And then the things that the thing has brought, whether that's spin-offs or this is a cultural change, like the board games, the card games, the spin-offs, those type of things, where made for TV stuff has parried the crap out of this movie. And so it's generated all that. The negative for me is, like, I love slow-paced movies, so don't get me wrong on that. I love Cure for Wellness. I love, I like this movie better than that. But I'm just saying, like, I love slow pace. But for me, for some reason in this movie, I've never been able to consistently, throughout the entire runtime, completely invest into it. And maybe that's just a patience thing for me. Maybe the older I get, maybe if I'm like a 50 or 60, maybe I'll have more patience. But I'm just watching it and I'm like, I can't wait for the flamethrower scene that I know is coming, or something like that. I guess I'm just an idiot that only wants to watch stupid, dumb Marvel movies or something. Right, I don't know, but yeah. So that's why I give it a 7, because I can't, in good conscience, for me, out of my personal enjoyment, give it an 8, 9, or 10 because of those things hold it back for me. Yep, I know. I'm the worst. I always rate stuff that everybody loves, like throughout the entire culture. 9 out of
You rated it 1 point
everybody
less,
else.
so I think you're fine.
Okay, well, the mob's gonna kill me.
We're not like, why do you hate things that are universally loved?
You done? Or you...
Yeah, that's it for me. I don't want to go on too long.
So I'm gonna be the bearer of the bad, I guess, and I'm giving it a 4.
Oh,
Tasha, you're not a badass
Because-
anymore.
disrespectful.
Everybody listening, dislike the
I
video.
have watched this movie so many times and still could never get into it. To be honest, I'm not much of an Alien person. I do like some of the effects and stuff John Carpenter does well with, but just can never get into the movie. So, 4.
I've never seen the 50s version.
I kind of want to watch it now, actually, or attempt to. I'll probably turn it off.
Attempt to, at least.
Probably even slower than this one.
Probably.
Or, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, hey, if anybody has seen anything within the past month that's besides our 4 movies or shows.
I haven't really watched anything new, but I just finished the audiobook for Doctor Sleep today, and I loved it. I was like,
that's
Wasn't
great.
it such a good
it
book?
was.
I'm the only one that hasn't read it. No.
But Mike hasn't read or seen, so we can't really.
Yeah.
You can talk about it. I don't give a shit.
Well, no, you can't.
I-
You really
I
can't.
loved the complete like style shift from The Shining. I thought it was
Yeah.
a very original take on that
Wait.
character.
Well, speaking of Stephen King, I just got finished with the Bill Hodges trilogy, which is Mr. Mercedes, and they are a very must-read. I thought they were really good.
They are great.
And I'm actually reading another Stephen King right now. So.
Which
I'm
one?
gonna try to get through. House of
Christine.
Oh yeah, that was. I think that was his first book. I
have never read it, but
I haven't either.
I'm just starting.
Which one was it, Tasha?
Christine.
Oh, okay.
The car, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
The Outsider. Are you guys watching it? I saw you put it on Plex.
I have not watched it. I am waiting and gonna binge
It kind of falls
after I read the book.
Yeah, it's like there's some characters from Mr. Mercedes in it, like 1 or 2. But
Sweet.
it's so good.
Yeah, I'm
HBO
gonna read the
did
book
well this
first.
time.
So.
But
Is that
The
like-
Outsider.
Is that based on a book, or is it like Castle Rock,
Yeah,
where they take
yeah.
the characters?
It's an actual book. It's actually called The Outsider.
Okay.
So.
I didn't finish Castle Rock this past season. I kind of just.
I haven't watched it, but I'm going to watch Mr. Mercedes now since I
Yeah.
finished the books.
Yeah, it's
I watched this doo-doo horror movie last weekend where this guy or these people download an app and it's called Countdown, and it shows you when you're gonna die, and it's kind of like Final Destination, and that you just die when it counts down. I don't know why I do this, but I seek out like the worst looking ones possible, and me and my buddy Randy watch them together and like try to make fun of them the whole time. Sometimes we watch them and they're so boring that we can't even super get into making fun of them. They're just too far in the mediocrity. And that was one. So it was, while we're talking about random horror stuff, I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring since you guys are intelligent people who read books, and I'm just like, I'll watch idiot films.
Well, I know it was a very, very, very brief trailer, but did you two watch the trailer for Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was cool. I'm glad that it
I
was.
haven't seen it.
It's just a very cool like
you were
one
right.
shot.
Oh, I was right?
Yeah,
What was I right about?
the ending, who was not dead,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hops.
because
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to be right, too, when they say that the chick was faking it and that she's going to be in love with the dude. That's going
No,
to feel really
They're
disingenuous.
not going to go back on Robin being lesbian. That is canon.
They will. You'll see.
well, we're not cutting. We've already cut into that can of worms. We'll save that when season 4
I'm not
comes
saying
out.
I want them to. I'm just saying that's what my prediction
We will
is.
cut that into when season 4 comes out. Now we'll go ahead and do recommendations.
Yeah.
I can go ahead and start since I have two this.
Okay.
So, they're both Stephen King books, but one's a John Carpenter film. So Jake might. So we're doing Christine, which is John Carpenter's film / Stephen King's book, and Misery.
Ooh, I like
Okay.
both.
So those are your two recs.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my recommendation is an indie movie that me and Tasha found via. We used to get random Redbox horror movies, and I want to see if I still enjoy this one because I enjoyed it a lot the first time I saw it. It's called Cry Wolf. Cry Wolf. It's on the screen now, so just use the IMDb for the box art if you guys are following along. You want to watch with us. Jake.
And Jake, what is yours?
Mine is The People Under the Stairs, which it's a Wes Craven film.
Oh, that's Wes Craven.
I've
Old one.
I've never seen it, but it was a house at I think the second ever Halloween Horror Nights, so I'm interested to watch the movie and just kind of for the historical like horror nights.
Especially being a Wes Craven fan, we should definitely. I've never seen that one either, so.
So Pat, if you want to come back for the next one, you will have a rec. It's up to
Okay.
you.
We just was making sure everybody had their two since
Yeah.
Josh is like.
Because Jake got a double one, I got a double one, and Tasha didn't get her double one yet, so that's why.
Okay.
That's why you didn't get a rec.
Well, I was trying to decide between two, but one was I don't know if you guys ever saw like Diary of the Dead. It was like from George Romero's series where it was like from the perspective of someone like attempting to essentially like vlog their experience with like a zombie apocalypse or just like more like document it.
That sounds funny.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's good.
interesting.
It's interesting. And then another is just like a classic that I've been meaning to watch, like watch again because I just revisit it every like 5 years, which is just the classic Blair Witch Project.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
if you want to do it next month, and then you can
Yeah.
pick one.
You don't have to commit, but you're welcome to come in again next
Yeah.
month.
I'm down.
We've been doing it as a trio for a few months, and your voice is welcome here.
Cool.
If you want to come. It's not like Josh is ever gonna
I think
revive
Josh
from the
is
dead.
He'll- I feel like he might come back for the Halloween show. That might be his yearly thing.
Yeah.
We can.
Well,
Possibly.
by then we'll have to have a fifth then, because if Pat comes for a bunch of meetings like on schedule, then
fine.
Josh is getting kicked.
Yeah.
Josh
Booted.
He's living it in Italy.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna go check them on y'all. Conversate.
Yeah,
Oh
do
wait,
the
Jake,
shirts.
plug in your shirt.
Yeah, do your shirts, Jake.
Oh well, if you're new here, I make horror themed T-shirts. A lot of I'm talked about The Shining a couple times. I have ones that may or may not be loosely inspired by the carpet patterns from the movie. I can't legally say, but I have some like classic horror themed ones like The Shining or Friday the 13th. So if you like horror and you listen to this podcast, then you should check it out. JakensteinApparel.com.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the what is this? The 10th episode?
Yes.
Oh, this is episode 10 special.
Double digits.
Last time it was 15 subscriber special.
We made it. Nobody thought we'd make it past episode 3.
All right.
About to get them
If you're
YouTube
dumb enough to
dollars.
have made it to the very end of this episode, I salute you for being able to make it. And leave us a comment. Let us know how crazy you are. And yeah, have a good one. Have a good month. See you guys next month.
Bye.